have you guys ever impaled yourself with anything?
Yes.
Oh,
badly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you mean all the way through?
No.
Yeah, just like somewhere, something that just went in you, maybe, and you pulled away and it's still in you.
Oh, pegging.
Yeah,
Yes.
So on the poultry, on the poultry farm, we have these sort of a tool. Basically, it's you got a handle and then a round metal rod that comes out that's like 1/8 of an inch of spring steel, and on the end it turns into first a neck that kind of goes back, and then a point that goes forward. And when you've got dead chickens, you can just walk by and sort of stick it into them and sort of twist it and throw them into a bucket that you're carrying in your other hand. You can do this really quick and you get really good with it. Well, my cousin and I had a sword fight with those. And he stabbed me in the forearm deep enough that like the bone did this vibratory thing that I could feel. And I had to reach, and it didn't just like go in and pop out. It was in, and I had to pull it out. And when I pulled it out, it made this little sort of noise, and I could feel the panic attack coming. And I got to water fast enough to throw it in my face, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to pass out now, but I definitely need some antibiotics. Like, you still got a tiny little scar. If you like shave my arm down, you can see.
I did so I had this big ass couch. You know those cuticle cutters, the little scissors, but they're like they had a little thing on the end. They were in the couch between two cushions, sitting upright and open. And I jumped on the couch, like ass first, obviously, as one does, just fucking like that. And it went in my ass cheek, my left ass cheek.
Thank God
it was like, I was like, what is that? Fuck, something's stabbing me. And I thought it was a grasper or like some kind of something small, like, because it didn't hurt that bad. It was like, oh God, that feels weird. I stood up and it was sticking. I could feel it gyrating in my ass. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I felt exactly what you were talking about, like about to pass out. Cause I was like, I grabbed it and I could feel it. And I just yanked it out of my ass. And it did the same thing you're talking about, where it was like, it made like a sound of it just like coming out. And it went in my ass and closed. So there was like a wound channel inside of my ass and 2 entry holes. So 2 entry holes with a wound channel closing it. I pulled it out of my ass. It went through my shorts, my underwear, and it didn't bleed really. It like had a little squirt at first, but I took a shower. I was very worried that it was going to get infected because they're fucking nasty ass cuticle cutters. But just got these little funny 2 little
knives.
Exactly. And that's what I used it for. That's why it was on the couch.
Oh, you tried it yourself.
Yeah.
Did you have to did you have to get a stitch or anything, or you just throw a little Neosporin and your ass was fine?
I should have definitely, because it was large, but I took a picture, sent it to everybody I knew, and then that was that.
It happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I stabbed myself very badly about 2 years ago now. On a piece of metal on my leg press hack squat 2-in-1 machine was being delivered in a giant wooden crate, and there were these metal crimps that were holding the boards together to package, and one of those had come unscrewed, and there's like a razor sharp blade sticking out, and I was pulling on the box to try and get it off of the pallet jack that this fucking retarded UPS guy hadn't put on there right. You shouldn't have to yank things off the pallet jack. And I pulled really hard and it stabbed into my right forearm. Like it was a scary moment.
L-shaped, isn't it?
It was L-shaped, but it stood out. And so like, it was mostly a straight line, but it was kind of jagged. It wasn't sharp enough to be a nice clean puncture, but I thought it was like a bee sting level of hurt as I was pulling it. And then I took my arm off and I like looked down thinking to be like, that's smarts. And like, there was a hole in my arm. Like it stabbed so deep that I could see the muscle and fat tissue in my arm. Like I could see all the meat in there.
Yeah.
Like I remember like driving myself actually it was funny because the guy who was helping me deliver, or who was delivering it to me, I was like, don't leave, because I stabbed myself so bad. Blood was going everywhere. And so I pinched it closed I kind of failed to pinch it closed. It was surreal to like have a wound that I was like using another hand to try and like hold closed, but there was so much blood, my hand was slippery. And so I just told the guy, I'm like, don't leave. He's in my garage dropping this off. And I run inside, I'm bleeding everywhere. Nice. I get a dish towel to tie around my arm. And then I come back out there and I'm like, all right, I need to go to the hospital. And the UPS guy was like, I mean, I can't take you to the hospital. And I'm like, no, like that's not what's being asked here.
I deliver packages, not
I deliver packages, not people.
It's the parcel service.
And so he like helped me because I was looking for a way to attach this towel to my arm to drive myself to the ER. And I found duct tape. I was looking for tape. And then I heard like in my house and I heard him scream from the garage. He's like, I got tape. And so I ran back out there. I slapped the thing on. He starts taping me up with an absurd amount of tape, of duct tape to keep this on there. It's bleeding so much, running down my arm. And the guy's like, with no hint of irony, he goes like, I'm about to like trying to pull away because there's plenty of tape on there. And he's like, hold on, I can do. My wife's a nurse. And then he like continued to tape me up, like said, my wife's a nurse authoritatively. And it was like, okay. And then I drove to the hospital and they, it scarred and healed so badly because I didn't ask for plastics because it was a forearm thing. And they just let a resident practice on me.
Yep.
Like,
that's what they do.
That's awesome.
And so it looks
I've got
really
one,
just gnarly still.
I don't know if you can see like the back of my.
Yeah, I see it.
Mm-hmm.
See if I do a thing like.
Yeah, I can see it.
They did a bad job. My mom was like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Never go there again. They closed that hospital. It was probably a mistake to go there.
Dude, one of the first nights I moved in, when I first moved out of my parents' house, I moved into a house, the first house I bought, and I got like really nice bread and some really nice cheese, and I was going to make a grilled cheese sandwich.
Nice.
Like an adult one. With some tomato soup, like garden vegetable soup. I was going to make it all myself. Was cutting the bread, first ingredient, and I just fucking cut the front of my finger completely off, basically. And it was, so I have like big calluses on my fingers because I play the guitar a lot. So like, I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit.
Oh, goodness.
And like, you can see how it's white there. That was all just like hanging off.
Oh, you hate that.
And it was, I was wondering if like, I thought it was going to die or whatever, but I just wrapped it up really good. And it just like the very top kind of peeled off eventually, but most of it, probably 80 or 70% of it just healed back together. And I never went to the hospital or anything because I'm a fucking idiot and I never go to the hospital, but
that's hardcore.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I used to open it a lot while I would do like I would play like some song or some shit with a hammer on, and then I would fucking get a string stuck inside of it and open it back up and be like, oh fuck, just because I can feel my skin ripping.
I guess 3 days wasn't enough time off.
Yeah, dude, that's so stupid. Very dumb.
During COVID, I was getting ready to go to the gym at like 2:30 in the morning, really late. And I remember I was getting my mixer or something to mix up some pre-workout. And I knocked a big kitchen knife off the counter and it went right between my toes and like straight down in. And I thought it had gone through my foot because when I lifted my foot up, like to look at it, so much blood had already ran out that it had ran over the sides and underneath my foot. So now the bottom of my foot was dripping the blood that's sort of coalescing there. And I thought, and it's a big, very nice chef's knife, I thought it had just fallen all the way through my damn foot. And so I like wrapped that thing up and drove myself to a hospital.
I remember the pictures you sent us of this.
I'm in the parking lot of this hospital, ER, and my foot's wrapped in a towel. And I had to tell like another patient who was out there, he was like, hey, can you tell them I'm out here and I'm basically crippled? I was like, I dropped the knife and it went through my foot. I was like, I can't walk in there. I've got a towel wrapped around the wound, and they sent a nurse with a bodyguard and a wheelchair out to get me.
A bodyguard, just in case this was a ruse.
Yeah, we talked about that. I was like, it's smart bringing him. She's like, yeah, we don't go out here alone.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, I'm like, well, I'm real. This is real blood.
You look out the window and you're like, never even mind. And just drive away.
A little towel falls off your foot. You're just like, fuck
You
it.
called my bluff, ma'am.
Ooh.
A friend of mine, when we were like 10 or so, I don't remember what show inspired this, but he was really into the idea of wielding a quarterstaff, like a Ninja Turtle.
Turtles.
Like it may have been that, but it could have been Ninja Turtles. And so there's like an old broomstick he had at his house, but for some reason it had like, those big industrial almost staples that'll sometimes be in wooden. Yeah. And he was trying to get that out because he didn't want metal. He just wanted like the long quarterstaff looking thing. And so he took the fork from a grill that you'd use to like flip a giant steak. And he was pushing on it, trying to pull that thing out, and it slipped, and he stabbed both of the tangs of it clear through his hand and had to go to the hospital. Thankfully, like easily could have had like a fucking bad hand, like the Scary Movie 2 guy.
Yeah.
But like he barely missed all the important stuff apparently. So now he can still
Just give me your other hand. No, it's not strong enough. Take my little hand.
Take my little hand. And it is the grossest little hand.
That
little potato hand.
There's only like
I
one
love that
scene in
movie.
that's still dated. They like parodied a Nike commercial from back then, and it's like, am I supposed to remember this Nike commercial from 2000?
Yeah, 2000, 25 years ago. Jeez.
Look at this, Zach. Can you show him the second article of this kid that got hurt BMXing?
That happens all the time. Why write an article about it?
Not like this. Not like this. This guy, they had a little bit of a collision, and another racer's like brake lever went up this kid's ass and broke off.
No.
Up his asshole and broke off. Here he is. He's like on the phone with his boys, like bragging about like what has happened. He's like, no, up my asshole, dude. My asshole.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Poor guy. What a traumatizing end to your fun day.
Hopefully he doesn't have a perforated colon or something like that.
Well, he had a colostomy. So yeah,
that's not good.
Had to reroute things for a while, I guess, until that heals up. Can't be pooping out the hole. That ran ragged.
Got rerouted to the original route.
I think
hate that.
It right out the side of your stomach with a little pod, like you're one of those test cows at the university.
Yep.
I love that.
One of those test cows at the university.
It's a little dark that we do that to cows. They don't seem to mind though. Whatever.
Yeah, dude. Ruminants are chill. Ruminants are chill creatures. They're pretty chill with it.
A ruminant? Like
4 stomachs.
Cows.
Yeah.
Goats.
I was trying to think of a ruminant that is ornery.
Somebody had an accident today or something.
Yeah, remember?
What happened?
So on PKN, I described the guy who did the swoop landing and couldn't get up for an hour.
Mhm.
It turns out he broke a vertebrae.
And that's what it was.
He's going to be okay. So I interpret it as not being displaced. If you don't break a lot of bones, displaced is the bone can be broken and you just see it on an X-ray, but it's still in the shape it's supposed to be.
Fractured, sort of.
Yeah. Well, broken in two is also called fractured, but displaced is when they're 2 separate parts and they're not where they used to be.
Yeah.
So I don't think he had that because he's just on some movement restrictions and he can't lift more than 10 pounds until August. And if you're a guy whose life is like outdoor oriented, to hear in June that like this year's fucked until August is really a bummer, but that's what he's got. Could be worse.
He's going to have to get a sim racer or something. He's going to have to like find himself an indoor hobby because you don't want to aggravate that. My dad had the stupidest injury. He was walking down an embankment this is years ago to inspect like the embankment. He has a drainage pipe running under a road. He's checking for erosion and stuff. And he slips and falls on his ass, like butt first, but he falls pretty far, like because it's this skidding thing. And he ruptured a disc in his back, and it was a huge thing. Like he was crippled. But he had to shower with a chair. He had a lawn chair in his shower because he had to shower seated. He was basically bedridden for months and months. And finally he found a surgeon who was like, oh yeah. Oh, we fixed that to next week. You want it fixed or this week? And he's like, this week. And they just went in and nipped the nerve that was sending the pain to you know, and immediately, well, first of all, the left side of his right foot went numb forever, but he was like, who cares? Because he's like walking around 100%. They put some sort of a painkiller that was time released in the wound. So he was feeling no pain there, but like the nerve pain from the ruptured disc was completely gone. So like he was up and walking and like trying to get in shape again, like in 2 days. Like he
found the right doctor. I've seen a lot of accidents, and it's crazy. I've seen guys who just, we call it yard sailing, right? When like pieces of your motorcycle fly every fucking where, and you know, like everything's scattered, and you felt it's 100, making, I'm exaggerating. We'll say 75-foot accident. And then that guy just gets up and brushes himself off. And then there's another guy who like lands in the seated position, and it's not very dramatic to see, but he's partially paralyzed forever.
Yeah.
You can't always tell by like the instant reaction.
Compressing your spine is a big deal. And spinal injuries in general. What did Paulie say? Nobody knows nothing when it comes to backs. Like something like that. Like a really complex part of our body. It's I don't think it was designed for upright walking creatures. It's just sort of been adapted to our ways.
It evolved that way.
Yeah.